Morning, friends. Ken Taylor here. This is actually for my Oregon friends, and particularly those that are in the Oregon Republican Party, PCPs, county chairs, vice chairs. Something I have kind of burr under my saddle. Of course, I'm here in Indiana. I don't get to hear anything direct these days. That's not true. I do talk to people, so I get to hear it firsthand from them, from their point of view, but I'm not in the mix of party politics there these days, other than what I see and do here. So, with that in mind, I want to give you a little history of my involvement in the Republican Party in Oregon quickly. Back in 2009, when all of us people that believed in America decided to get involved in the Tea Party to become an influence because like myself, I guess, sat on the sidelines too long and let other people do the work of politics for us. We decided to form and get involved. Myself and a few other people went to a Republican meeting in Crook County, which was not populated well, about 6 or 7 senior citizens there. Not much going on, wasn't really organized at all, and we eventually became leadership in the Crook County Republican Party, myself being elected as chair, and I took that responsibility very seriously. And over the course of my 3 or 4 terms, I can't remember how many, must have been 3 terms, 3 2-year terms. We grew the party. We went from just a few PCPs to almost having every seat filled. That would have been about 48, 52, something like that, seats filled, representing the people, Republican people of Crook County. Excuse me. Did that with hard work, and in the course of that, I was called and asked if I'd be willing to run for treasurer of the Oregon Republican Party, which I was did with some trepidation. I was elected without any votes against me, I guess. Well, maybe one. And, no big deal, I suppose, at the moment. Didn't seem like a big deal to anybody because, heck, nobody knew me other than the people on the west side. The east side of Oregon. And, but like I took the job in Crook County seriously, I took the job of the ORP treasurer, Oregon Republican Party treasurer, very seriously. And I did my job. I made sure the finances were kept accurately. That was the job. That, and as an executive officer, to give leadership to the party. There were a couple of kerfuffles along the way that I will take responsibility for, that were righting the party. Nothing that I did that was wrong. In fact, I conducted myself honorably through my whole term. I did informal audits of the books to make sure that we were where we needed to be. I voted the way I believed our bylaws and platform directed and represented the people, the Republican people of Oregon, the Oregon Republicans. So when I left with a clear conscience, knowing that I had done what I needed to do. About the first time I got involved in Crook County, there, as a member of the State Central Committee then, I became aware of a conflict or a controversy regarding Solomon Yue. The word I got was the man was a Chinese communist spy. And I'm not one that takes that kind of stuff lightly. I believe that when accusations are made against anybody, you check them out. I didn't know Solomon. I had seen him, I think, at one meeting, but I didn't know him. But I took it upon myself to do some investigation. And I thought I'd go to the highest level. I knew he was involved in the RNC. That was his job as the national committeeman. And I talked to James Bopp of Terre Haute, my hometown, who happened to be, I think he was a vice chair of the RNC at one point there, but he was certainly a very important player in the RNC. And I spoke to him about Solomon. I wanted to know his thoughts about who Solomon Yue was. Well, he informed me that Solomon was a man who was responsible for the conservative caucus in the RNC. In other words, it brought it back from a lame organization that was pretty milquetoast and began to influence with conservative values once again, which represents all of us as Republicans in this country. Everything I heard about Solomon, all the questions I asked were asked and answered with an affirmative, positive for Solomon's character. I took great exception with the idea that we would have people calling him a Chi-Com, communist spy. The racial bias that I felt was involved in that, knowing who was making the accusations and some history there. I decided to set out one state central committee meeting as a county in protest because it was really, really unjust. It was evil, in my opinion. But after that, I dug in with both heels as the treasurer of the party, and I stood my ground. I did what was right. I worked for conservative values. I tried to be a good leader, and I do believe I was. But I did it. I served with integrity, and I served alongside, hand in hand, in fact, with Solomon Yue. Now, a lot of accusations that I've seen in this recall effort that has been presented, and I don't recognize any of the folks. Well, some of them, yes, I do. A couple of them I don't care much for as far as how they handle things, and I think this recall effort is an example of the things I don't care for. But it appears that it's a lot of newcomers coming in that have taken the word of others for the validity, supposedly, of these accusations. Where is the evidence? You know, evidence is important. You can make accusations all you want. And in fact, while I was in office, a man made a scurrilous accusation that if anybody had believed it, probably could have ended my career as a youth pastor. Nobody believed it. In fact, I was approached by a well-known politician, lawyer, and who informed me what was going on, and informed me that I could sue him and prevail easily. Unfounded charges, stupid charges, evil charges, from a man with a moral conflict in his spirit, I believe. So accusations are free. Evidence costs you something. It costs you the willingness to find it and put it forward. It costs you when you have a lack of evidence. And I got to tell you that it should cost some people a lot, because there is no evidence for the things that I was involved in during that time, serving with Solomon Yue. I can absolutely dispute, because I was there. I was in the room. I was there at the meeting. I was there at the convention. I was there when I talked to him personally. And all of the things that I've heard that are being said about Solomon Yue have been proven false by my personal witness experience, and I'll testify to that. I'd love to see these people who are making these accusations stand and testify with their evidence. It's not going to happen. All it is going to be accusations in order to achieve power for some reason. But folks, I got to tell you something. Injustice is injustice. And so for me, silence is impossible. I can't be silent about this. I know different than what the accusations are in their recall petition. And I love Oregon. It's a great place. Politics there stinks. You know it and I know it. But I got one thing just to say to you that I think is very important. Oregon is really, in Republican realms, probably a liability, a flyover, that no politician really would want to have anything to do with Oregon. It is such a mess. Some of it's because of the party. Most of it is because of the huge deficit of Republican voters. And there's one person that I believe is primarily responsible for keeping Oregon in national play, and that's Solomon Yue. His connections, personal relationships with people is important. He is an influencer. Now, if you're getting paid or getting a kickback for being an influencer, that's not necessarily a good thing, but he pays his own bills. He pays his way. He's not getting paid for being an influencer for the Oregon Republican Party. Not at all. The financial claims that he was paid, he stole money from a campaign, are scurrilous and outright lies, provable on paper. So you want to think about Oregon as something involved in national politics? Well, you better keep somebody in there in that office as a national committeeman that has the kind of connections that will make that happen. And it really hurts my heart to think, well, I'm not surprised. Let's just say that. A lot of people out there that get hot under their collar because they think everything is wrong except for what they think. Rarely do they ever take time to find out what the truth is. And that's kind of where all this is coming from. I hope I make some people mad. Because, frankly, they're wrong. Some of them are liars. A lot of them are misguided. All of them are not working for the true interest of the Oregon Republican Party. They got something else going on in their need to be important, I think. Try to right some wrong that isn't there. I think of Don Quixote jousting with windmills, and frankly, there's a whole bunch of Don Quixotes in the Oregon Republican Party. Whole bunch. Actually, rather than Don Quixote, they look like Monty Python players running around the country with their jousting skills on foot, pretending they're on a horse. They have nothing. They have nothing. And I'm disgusted with it. I don't care if you like that or not, but that's the way it is from this side of the world in Indiana, my home state, living near my hometown, and that's how I see it. I love Oregon. I still have family in Oregon, and I'm concerned. So take care of business, guys. Get it right. Get your heart straight with God. Knock off the lying. Quit assuming that every little story you're told is gospel until you dig and find out the truth. Occasionally it's a good thing to go to the person that's accused, try to find out what they got to say. If there's paper evidence someplace, that'd be a good thing too. I don't think anybody's done that because it isn't there. So there you go, folks. That's Ken Taylor's thoughts on what's happening in Oregon. I'll be darned if I'm happy about sitting here. I'd rather be there right in the mix, setting the record straight. And if you know me, I don't stand for a bunch of baloney. And this is baloney and worse. They're trying to feed you a load of crap. Get your heart straight.